You know, not everyone is going to be happy about God moving in your life and doing things to change your life. So you may experience something called rejection. Can we talk about rejection for a few minutes today? Especially over the fact that if you allow God to have your rejection, then God can take the hurt of that rejection and turn it into something really beautiful. Welcome to day 9 of our 21 days together in the book of John. And today we're in John chapter 9, where Jesus heals a blind man. And in this great miracle, this incredible blessing, he gets hardly anything but rejection from everybody else. You know, it reminds me of a story that I think will inspire you today. Story of a good friend of mine named Frances, who I got to start knowing her about 14 years ago. But back in the 60s, Frances was blind in one eye. And Frances said, I'd been in church for years. I had sang in the choir. I had played the piano, the organ. I had listened to sermon after sermon, but I had never really developed a hunger for God's word. She said something came over me at that point, and I began to hunger after God's word. And I began to read it really for the first time in my life. And she said, I was in John chapter 9 one day, and I was reading about Jesus healing a blind man. And I thought, if he can do it for him, then perhaps he can do it for me. And she was just crazy enough to start praying that God would heal her like he did that blind man. And you know, a couple of days later, she woke up from a night's sleep and she could see out of the eye that she had not been able to see out of. Well, as great of a miracle as that was, she went to her doctor, and her doctor said, no doubt you could see, but there's got to be a medical explanation as to how this happened. There's no way it's divine in nature. Rejection. And then she went and joined her church family, and she experienced a whole lot more rejection. All these people that had known that she had had this condition before, and now she could see, were still rejecting her. It's interesting because I remember a part in John chapter 9 when that blind man that had been healed had been questioned, had been bullied, had been sought after from all these people trying to explain it away. And he finally comes up and he says, listen, I don't know everything. I don't have a degree in theology. I didn't graduate from the top school. I don't have a master's in divinity. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a priest. But I could tell you one thing. I was once blind, and now I can see. And you can't take that away from me. Well, Frances had the same story. And after several years of feeling rejected and experiencing rejection, she, along with a handful of people, decided to start another church. Not to be divisive, but simply to start a place where there was a home for people that had been rejected by their family, rejected by their church, rejected by the community, the culture. It needed to be a place where people that had been rejected could come and be a part of a family. And you know, the year that they did that was in 1973. The month that they started that was in September of that year, the same year that I was born, the same month that I was born, they started this church. This church is Lighthouse Church, where I now pastor. It's a privilege to come in to a place that people that have experienced religious trauma and rejection to have a home. And it all started with a woman who said, I don't know everything, but I was once blind. And now I see. Love you guys.